And coming at you live right now on Thursday night, December 6, 2012. Black Avenger Lee Sanders here, welcoming you to an all-new episode of Impact Showdown Radio, where we are joining Impact Wrestling live in progress right now. We just saw in the main event, six-man tag match, the team of the Cowboy, James Storm, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, picking up a victory over Robert Roode, Daniels, and Kazarian. Really great tag team match that we had. Saw right here, as now the tone is set. All eyes are now on the 9th annual pay-per-view known as Final Resolution. I was about to say Final Destination. I've been watching too many of those movies throughout the week. I apologize for that. But wait. We're talking about Impact Wrestling live in progress right now. Jeff Hardy celebrating the win as he was the one that picked up the victory for his team. But we see the damn aces and eights, Devon, Doc, VP, they are all attacking the TNA World Heavyweight Champion right now. We see Devon. He briefly had the TNA World Heavyweight title, was kind of looking at it there, kind of like, this doesn't look too bad. Now we see Doc going to the face of Jeff Hardy, as now we see Doc going to the head of Jeff Hardy, and you're just wondering, where is the TNA roster right now? Yes, and we see them. James Storm coming into the ring with a steel chair, but the aces and eights, they quickly rolled out. We see Bobby Roode. He's looking on. He's laughing. He likes what he is seeing right here. Makes you kind of wonder what's happening as we see aces and eights giving a thumbs up to Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode giving a thumbs back to them, saying to the camera, it pays to be rude, leaving you with the impression here, folks, that maybe, just maybe, Bobby Roode might have sat up and paid aces and eights to do the attack on Jeff Hardy. We're going to rewind it back to the very beginning for you guys, and we'll let you guys make up your own minds for those of you that were not able to see Impact Wrestling tonight. Hey, as always, we got the chat room. It's loaded up right now at Blog Talk Radio. Feel free to jump on in there when you get a free moment. You know, you can also interact with us during the course of tonight's show. Hit us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. You can also interact with us on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. While you're at it, take time out, like our page, as we always post a ton of new content, wrestling and non-wrestling related news. And, of course, as always, guys, we're going to be opening up the phone lines in the later part of the show. Right before we dive right into it, I want to send a heartfelt thank you to you, the listeners, especially those of you that had listened to a really solid episode of the RCWR Show Tuesday Night Wrestling Report from this past week, as I was joined by the lovely co-producer Tammy for an entire episode, and we were just all over the place on that episode. I quickly made that be our most listened to episode, not only on the downloads, but a lot of you had checked out the episode live in progress. We really appreciate that love right there. Probably one of our most popular live episodes amongst you all to date. We appreciate that love. And, hey, we're going to keep that momentum going. We're going to make sure that we put that momentum into tonight's episode. So let's go ahead, jump right into it. 72 hours away now from Final Resolution, and the card, my God, the card is shaping up to be a hands down, from what I'm seeing, just by the looks of it on paper, for sure, it looks like a pay-per-view you'll want to come up out of your pocket and you'll want to order. Now, we'll get to that in just a little bit. We'll let you know the full card, but let's talk about tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, as tonight we had saw the continuation of the Hulk Hogan, Bully Ray, Brooke Hogan, Austin Aries drama. We see that Bully Ray, he wants to have a match with Austin Aries. He's quite fed up with this guy. Hulk Hogan denying him last week. Bully Ray wanting to have a talk-to-talk with the Hulkster, wanting that match. Hulkster adamant the match is not happening. Bully Ray vowing that he is going to have the arena held hostage if he doesn't get what he wants tonight. Hulk Hogan letting him know, hey, look, the whole world of TNA does not revolve around you and your little feud with Austin Aries. There are more bigger, important people, bigger things you need to be thinking about. Can't be thinking about you right now. Answer is no. And so we see Bully Ray in the backstage segment. He's on his cell phone. We don't hear the name of the person he's talking to, but you can safely assume that the person he is talking to is his girlfriend, Brooke Hogan, and letting her know that, hey, for the past couple of weeks, everything he's been saying to the Hulkster has been going in one ear and it's been going out the other. He's having a hard time dealing with this guy. He can't stand him. Brooke not really trying to hear his complaining right now, but Bully Ray saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. All right, whatever, bye. We do see Bully Ray come on out to the ring. He holds the arena hostage. Show is not continuing on as he wants his match with Austin Aries. As far as he's concerned, he wants the match. Aries wants the match. The fans want the match. So, Hulkster, what's the problem? Well, we soon see Austin Aries come out. And he's not really buying that Bully Ray is all that eager to have this match with him, as he remembers how last time these two guys hooked up in the ring, Austin Aries laid him out. As a matter of fact, he did that devastating brain buster DDT and was able to pick up the victory. Not really sure that Bully Ray wants any piece of him this time around, but gives him props for trying to come to the aid of his girlfriend, Brooke Hogan, trying to fight for her honor. He likes that. But in the meantime, he pulls up a chair, and he's chilling outside the ring. He's joining Bully Ray in protest of the match that he wants. Now, we do learn that apparently Austin Aries never intended on Bully Ray, Brooke Hogan to really be caught up in the whole mix of what he was stirring up, as originally this was all aimed towards one individual, Hulk Hogan, as he revealed that he was pretty pissed off that Hulk Hogan was micromanaging everything related to him as far as getting another opportunity to compete for the TNA World Heavyweight title. And he just felt that the Hulkster was just really sticking it to him. And really, Austin Aries was trying to push the right buttons necessary to get himself in a position where he could get a rematch for the X Division title. He wanted his X Division championship back as a way of trying to get right back up there into the spotlight. Kind of a little conflicted when I hear this and I'm hearing Austin Aries say this. I don't know about you guys. I'm peeping this out, right? And the first thing that's clicking in my head when Austin Aries is saying this is, wait a minute now. Austin Aries had coughed up his X Division title just right before Destination X to be able to get the opportunity to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Remember, that's now the new stipulation that's going to be coming every year. Whoever the X Division champion is, right around the Destination X pay-per-view, they have the opportunity to relinquish the X Division title for a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, as made famous by Austin Aries. So you're kind of hearing this, and you're kind of wondering to yourself, okay, Austin, you say you weren't really looking forward to going backwards, that for you to get the X Division title back, it's a step going backwards. You want to continue to go forward. As he was asked a question a couple of months back, okay, if you ever lose the TNA World Heavyweight title, what are you going to do? And he said it plain as day. He's going to just continue to go forward. He's not going backwards. He's been there. He's done that. So how the times kind of changed here. Who knows what Austin Aries' game plan might have been getting this X Division title. Maybe he planned on holding it long enough until he was able to get to the Destination X pay-per-view, maybe cash in the title again for another opportunity to face the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, whoever that may be. But in either case, Austin Aries reveals this is why he wanted to – this is basically the reason why Austin Aries was stirring up some emotions in the Hulkster. Didn't plan on Bully Ray getting involved, but reveals that once Bully Ray did get involved in his match last week and cost him the X Division title, he wanted his hands on Bully Ray ever since. So now we know a little bit more insight on what's going on from Austin Aries' side. Well, we do see Hulk Hogan, after both of these men, they have their fold-out chairs, they're protesting. Hulkster does come out, and he lets both of them know the match, it just is not going to happen. They can forget about it. Tells Bully Ray to get out of his ring or he will throw him out. Bully Ray, hey, he loved the sound of that. He actually got up out of his chair, kicked it to the side, got in the face of the Hulkster. Looked like we were about to see a fight for the ages, as just the chemistry that these two men have been having in recent weeks. I must say, I have been enjoying their chemistry better than what was going on whenever Hogan and Sting were pairing up for a segment, or whatever was going down with Hogan, Aces and Eights, even when it was Hogan and Bischoff. I've been liking the way this has just been playing off more with Hogan, Bully Ray. Great stuff, really comes off great, polished on TV. These two guys look like they're getting ready to rip each other's guts apart. We see the lovely Brooke Hogan come out. I said lovely tonight because, you know, I must admit, and, you know, you can't sit up and, you know, I hear you guys, Brooke, you know, the face is a little bit jacked up. I think we all can be in agreement tonight. Come on, all joking aside. That chest that Brooke had tonight, that chest was really looking like it was coming out in a big way, brother. I'm very surprised that the Hulkster allowed her to come out wearing that. I mean, she showed more cleavage than we got to see in that ridiculous TNA Knockout holiday commercial. I mean, in that one, you just see her little face, and she's trying to look cute, but don't even get me started on that. I talked about that last week. We're talking about what happened this week. But we see Brooke Hogan, she comes on down, and she tells Daddy, hey, Mark, she let it slip. She called Bully Ray by his actual name, Mark. So that's her first mistake right there. She tried to catch herself, but the Hulkster, he already caught what she said, and he called her on. He said, you called him Mark? Hogan really letting that personal side get to him, even though he's saying he's been all about business for the past 30 years. He tells Brooke Hogan, he tells Bully Ray, he tells Austin Aries, they are the ones that have made this personal. The damn match is on. So we're going to see Bully Ray take on Austin Aries this Sunday at Final Resolution. That should be a pretty solid contest. All right. Other action that we had saw on Impact Wrestling tonight, we had got to see in a very brief backstage segment TNA gut check judge Al Snow have a brief conversation with D'Lo Brown. As remember, folks, last week Al Snow was MIA, not really sure what was going on with him, but we see Al Snow say to D'Lo Brown that the last thing he remembers was getting off of an airplane. He went to go grab a bite to eat. He was going to go hop in the car. He was pretty much on his way to the arena, but he can't remember what happened after he had his food, as pretty much he passed out. Next thing he remembers was waking up in a hospital, being surrounded by doctors. Blood work is being done right now to try to figure out what all was going on, but you're led to the impression that it sounds as if Al Snow might have been drugged. And as we had said last week on Impact Showdown Radio, you know, the only person that really had a lot to gain from Wes Briscoe getting a TNA gut check contract was, number one, Wes Briscoe, but then you look at the fact that D'Lo Brown just conveniently slides on in to give that vote that is needed to Wes Briscoe. You know, you're kind of left with the impression that just perhaps Wes Briscoe, D'Lo Brown, they might be hooked up with Aces and Eights. Now, we know everybody's saying Wes Briscoe without a doubt, and we've seen the tattoo comparisons, the image comparisons of the builds, the eyes, the hair. It's you know, for the sake of the argument, we know that Wes Briscoe is one of the Aces and Eights guys, but, you know, they have said from time to time random guys have been coming in to wear the Aces and Eights costume, so it really can't be anybody, but that long-haired, blonde-haired guy that has been in that group for a good long period of time, it's been Briscoe. So it's just a matter of time before they reveal that it is him. But in the meantime, you're left with the impression that Briscoe and D'Lo Brown might be in cahoots with Aces and Eights. So really nice little development that you have right there. And, personally, I don't know about you guys, I'm old school D'Lo Brown fan. I love D'Lo Brown. I always thought he was the most underrated freaking wrestlers. He's high up there on my list. I loved it when he had became the Euro Intercontinental Champion. If I'm not mistaken, he was the first brother to pull that off. I loved when he did that. Always been a fan of his work. Hey, I welcome the invitation to see him come on back on main programming on a regular basis. I would love to see what he could do mingling with Al Snow, working with the younger talent. I would like to see what would happen with that. We also got to see Mickie James have an exchange of words with Tara, as Mickie James was thanking the fans for being by her side, as she had just been having a pretty rough year. Of course, she was dealing with some nagging health issues. She needed a little bit of surgery, so she was MIA there for a little bit. But, we saw Tara interrupt her, and Tara saying, hey, Mickie, you had a bad year? Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. Well, I've had a pretty good year. I dumped Miss Tessmacher and got with a pretty hot boyfriend in Jesse. And really funny right here because the crowd, I love a live crowd. I love it. You can't filter it. You got to run right with it. Live crowd, letting their voices be heard, chanting as one and clapping as one. Who are you? Bump, 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 bump. Who are you? Of course, that directed to Jesse. Love that moment right there. We see Tara talking about how she really has just been on the roll, winning the TNA Knockouts title. And right before she could really sink her teeth into the promo she was cutting on Mickie James, we hear the music of Velvet Sky. And folks, in Euphoria, and I was one of the main guys in Euphoria over here, we saw the long-anticipated return of Velvet Sky, and it looked as if she did not miss a beat as she let those pigeons loose. My good God, how I miss those pigeons coming loose. Really loving seeing her return. Of course, Velvet Sky, she's been gone from TNA Wrestling for about almost 7 months. Remember, there was that whole sea of failed contract negotiations that was going on as Bruce Pritchard was in charge of making the TNA cuts, and he was trying to get a lot of wrestlers to take a lower pay cut, but wasn't quite working out. Velvet Sky was one of those people that fell victim to not accepting a new deal, and she just quietly left TNA Wrestling, and it had upset a lot of fans. We heard a ton of feedback from you guys when we were getting reactions from you all on a YouTube video that we had posted talking about Velvet Sky leaving the company. And, it was one of those things you just kind of knew on the back burner that, okay, TNA Wrestling, they probably knew they dropped the ball right here, and that it was very imperative that they try to get her back as soon as humanly possible. And, we did start hearing the rumblings there that, initially when Velvet Sky had left, that TNA president Dixie Carter, she really didn't like the fact that Velvet walked away. Of course, Velvet Sky being one of those originals for the Knockouts division, put in all that time there. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, Velvet Sky, unfortunately, she's only been a Knockouts champion only one time. I'm tempted to say 2 times, but I'm going to go with 1 to be on the safe side. And, we heard the rumblings there that Dixie was trying to do everything she can to bring Velvet on back, and that as soon as the time was at the right setting for renegotiating, it would happen. And, of course, during the summer, we had heard that something was kind of finalized. It looked as if she was going to be coming back, and here we are. Lo and behold, it's the return of Velvet Sky. And I'm with a few of you guys. You know what? If they can get Angelina Love back, I say the Beautiful People 2013 reunion, it needs to be on. I want to see those two beautiful women cleanse ugly faces one face at a time. That's what I want to see happen. Great moment right here, though. Velvet Sky returning, letting both women know that, hey, best of luck with your match this Sunday, but be put on notice, 2013 is going to be my year. It's going to be the year of Velvet Sky as TNA Knockouts champion. So, folks, it kind of sounds like we can expect a taste of things to come. Looks like whether some people may like it or not, and personally, I love it. Looks like Velvet Sky is going to be getting another shot at that Knockouts title, and honestly, about damn time. Let's hope that it lasts longer than how it went down the last time around. I mean, remember, guys, the last time she held that Knockouts title, remember how quickly Gail Kim had came back. It was all like within the same month that Velvet Sky had won the Knockouts title. Then Gail Kim returns, and then I believe Velvet lost it on an episode of Impact Wrestling. You know, speaking about titles being dropped on Impact Wrestling, didn't look like it was covered during tonight's episode after it happened, and it was a WTF moment. I know Zed was working his magic on Twitter, as always, but I definitely wanted to chime my thoughts on this. It pissed me off completely, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, one of the matches that we had saw was Devon take on Samoa Joe for the television title. Now, great match that we had right here, but let's pick it up towards the critical few seconds in this bout, guys and gals. We had saw Samoa Joe, he applied a submission hold on Devon, and looked like Samoa Joe was working his way, grinding it out, looked like he was about to pick up a victory via submission. And we just see this cute little blonde-haired girl. I actually thought that might have been Velvet originally, but it turned out that wasn't. Because I was about to say, wow, Velvet Sky, aces and eights. Hey, that's pretty damn cool, but it didn't even play out like that. Not sure who the girl was. Looked like she maybe used to be a Hooters waitress. I don't know. But we see her. She jumps on the side apron. She's grabbing the attention of referee Earl Hebner. He's trying to have her shoot away. And we see Doc come from behind, metal object, hit Samoa Joe over the head with it. Hey, Samoa Joe laid out. Devon, shockingly, becomes the new television champion. That, for me, was the WTF moment of the night. Now, I sat on my hands, and I said, okay, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we will hear Samoa Joe cut a promo and say, hey, look, I got a rematch clause. I think what happened was a bunch of bull crap. I want a rematch against Devon this Sunday at Final Resolution. Hell, I was ready to see Samoa Joe go into a backstage segment, talk with the Hulkster, and say, did you see what happened? Did you see what they did to me? I want my belt back. Give me a rematch against Devon for the strap. Give it to me. We didn't even see that happen. So this really bothered me the wrong way, because my whole thing was, okay, why couldn't we have this happen at the pay-per-view? I mean, we're 72 hours away from the pay-per-view. This really just didn't do anything for Samoa Joe. I mean, you just buried him. You built him up to be this wrecking submission machine of old, and then you just have him lose the strap like that. Now, okay, granted, he might have lost it due to interference, but it just would have been more icing on the cake to have this happen at the pay-per-view, I feel. I don't know how some of you guys feel about that, but whenever I see a title exchange hands just a few days before a pay-per-view, I always look at that as, okay, that's a dumb move, because you could have had people pay to see that match, and here you just wasted a precious spot. You wasted time. You wasted resources for nothing because you just did something for free. If you're going to drop the strap, at least get paid for it. That's what I always say. So really, WTF silly moment right here. I thought this was poorly executed. Now, they tried to have Samoa Joe redeem himself in the later part of the show. Of course, we did tell you guys about that at the very beginning of the show, but we'll mention it again towards the end for you guys that didn't catch it at the very beginning. We don't want to spoil it for you guys right now if you're just tuning in, but still, regardless of how this played out at the end with Samoa Joe, dumb move right here on TNA Booking's part. Hey, I always try to keep it real, you know. A lot of times I will sit up and I will give praise to TNA when they're doing something right, but you rest be assured when they're doing something wrong, I'm sorry, hardcore TNA fans, but I'm going to give you the dose of reality whether you like it or not. You can try to convince me till you're blue in the face. TNA Booking, they dropped the ball with this. This is not how it should have been played out. Final verdict. Let's move on now. We had got to see a tag match as we had saw Big Robbie, Little Robbie, team up to take on the team of Chavo and Hernandez. Now, in that contest, we saw the team of Chavo and Hernandez pick up the victory. Interesting moment post-match, we saw Joey Ryan come on down to the ring, letting them know that in just 3 days, their number was going to be up as him and Matt Morgan, they're going to become the new tag champions. Oldest trick in the book as we have Joey Ryan distracting Chavo and Hernandez. Matt Morgan comes up from behind, attacks them, lays them out, and we see Joey Ryan sit up, and he cut a pretty funny promo there saying this is what happens when you're messing with two guys that are pretty big, and basically bigger is better, calling Matt Morgan, and calling himself the Big Organ, and proclaiming that they're going to be the next tag team champions. That Joey Ryan, that is one hairy beast. I don't know if you guys saw it on his Facebook page. I know we shared the link on our joint, but there is this disturbing picture of him floating around. He's got his shades on, and he's got a burgundy bow around his shoulders, and there's a bow tied around his you-know-what, and that's just all he's wearing. He just looks like a freaking bear. I just thought it was really funny. Like, as soon as I saw the image, it had me think of the stupid little SNL digital short with Justin Timberlake and that other kid. I can't think of his name, but he was on SNL for a couple of years. He just left. I think Andy Samberg, I think that's his name. The song is It's My In a Box. Look that up on YouTube. Say keywords SNL in a box, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, hey, I feel sorry for you. But anyway, moving right along, we had got to see in a backstage segment Devon celebrating his win over Samoa Joe with that nice hot little blonde that caused the distraction as other Aces and Eights members, they got themselves a few little cutie pies. And we see Devon, he's about ready to testify on this voluptuous blonde woman, and we hear him say, hey, VP, we got some darts we got to throw, man. And VP tells Devon, hey, don't worry about that. We already have that taken care of. And he reveals that for the right amount of money, pretty much anything can happen. And very interesting right here, guys, because we had saw a pretty funny moment where the censors did not step in on behalf of VP, who cut one pretty funny promo here. Pretty much, I'm going to try to pull up his exact words right now because I couldn't remember it verbatim. But basically what VP had said was, money talks and bullshit walks. And he got away with saying bullshit live on the air. I was just amazed. I actually had to hit the rewind button back. I'm like, did I just hear this right? And like many of you, I was kind of shocked that one had slipped past the censors there, because usually the Spike censor guys, they are usually pretty on point. But, hey, that's what happens. They slip, so now we know that apparently it looks like the Aces and Eights, they've been paid. Who their target is not revealed just yet. Let's move right on along. We saw a pretty solid tag match as Zema Ion had took on Kid Cash and Kenny King. How about that, folks? For the second week in a row, we got the return of Kenny King, Ring of Honor favorite. Kenny King picking up the victory right here. Now, as a result of Kenny King picking up the victory in this triple threat match, he now becomes the number one contender to take on Rob Van Dam for his X Division title. I do hope I didn't get my belts mixed up there when I was talking about Samoa Joe and Devon there, because Samoa Joe has the television title. You know, I usually get them mixed up. Hopefully I didn't. If I did, somebody in the chat room correct me there, but I'm pretty sure I was on point the first time. But once again, Kenny King, he's going to be able to take on RVD for the television title. So confused because you're like, which belt? You know, eventually it'll come back to me. But let's see. So that should be a pretty interesting match right there, of course. Kenny King, as much as I love the guy, impressive athlete, impressive in the ring, I just don't see him picking up a victory over Rob Van Dam, although it would be nice. I just don't see it happening. Of course, I'm giving an early match prediction right now. Let's move along now as we had got to see in the main event match, Jeff Hardy team up with James Storm, AJ Styles, as they had took on the team of Robert Roode, Daniels, and Kazarian. Daniels and Kazarian coming out looking like they had just escaped from a gym in the 1980s with their little fanny packs and zebra sweatpants, whatever the hell you want to call it. They looked ridiculous. I mean, they reminded me of the Bushwhackers, the way they were coming out, and they looked like the Bushwhackers, but they came off like sane, clean-shaven, clean-faced versions of the Bushwhackers. Really funny moment right here. But, you know, this was actually a pretty solid main event match that we had got from all these guys. I was actually really loving this main event match. Of course, we saw the miscommunication there between AJ Styles, James Storm, as once again, AJ Styles looked like he wanted to be the one to pick up the victory. Looks like the heated words that Daniels had said to him earlier in the night, maybe it might be catching up to him right then and there, as we saw Daniels say to Kazarian earlier in the match, right at the beginning of the show, leading up into the match, that AJ Styles has just been on this really bad funk of losing the Bound for Glory series, losing the Bound for Glory match, not being able to get another title shot till Bound for Glory 2013, and even at that, he may not win that. And, just really grilling it, bringing it home to AJ, letting him know that, hey, when it's all said and done, you can't blame me, you can't blame Kazarian, you can't blame Obamacare, you can't blame global warming. The person you got to blame for everything that's been happening to you this year is you. And Daniel's pretty much saying, hey, be his pleasure to face him one last time to prove just how much of a loser he really is. And, we just saw a little bit of frustration coming from AJ Styles in this main event match, as despite the team of Hardy, Storm, and AJ picking up the win, it just really came off as if AJ wanted to be the one to pick up the victory right here. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen right here. But, we talked about it at the very beginning of the show. We saw the ring clear out as Jeff Hardy, he was celebrating his victory. We see those damn aces and eights. They come out of nowhere. They just start attacking Jeff Hardy, and they are just doing a number on him. Devon, Doc, everybody. They're just going to work on this guy. And you're wondering, where's the TNA roster? Where are these guys? And we see James Storm. He comes out. He has a steel chair. All the guys, they roll out. And you see aces and eights. They still are around the ring. We see Bobby Roode. He's still there. He's looking on at aces and eights. Aces and eights, they give the thumbs up. Bobby Roode gives them a thumbs up. which really leaves you to believe that Bobby Roode had paid aces and eights to jump Jeff Hardy. So just goes to show you, Bobby Roode is willing to do anything and everything to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And it's so funny because this is exactly what James Storm tried to tell Jeff Hardy in a backstage segment leading up to this main event match. He told him, he said, look, you got to be careful with that Bobby Roode. He is one tricky little snake. He was able to manipulate James Storm into coughing up that number one contender spot, screwing him out of it, going where it hurts the most, talking about his family. Storm acknowledging that he got played and basically saying you got to watch out for Bobby Roode because when he wants something, he knows how to get it. And, of course, seeing what had happened tonight and hearing that really great video promo of Bobby Roode talking about how he was one of the longest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champions, and basically he's been without the title for 5 months now, that this Sunday it's his time. Just given the swing of how things have been going within recent weeks, you're kind of led to the impression here that it really could be Bobby Roode's time. Very interesting, folks, because we have a scenario here where it's highly, highly likely that Jeff Hardy could be leaving TNA Wrestling to go back to the WWE. Now, just recently, Matt Hardy was making his rounds on a few radio shows, and the question was asked if he sees him and his brother returning to the WWE, or more specifically, the question that was asked was, hey, when Jeff Hardy's TNA contract expires, any possibility of you and him going back to the WWE? Matt Hardy saying very likely. Now, we know how Matt Hardy likes to play the internet community. Take it for what it's worth, but, when you really start thinking about it, WWE, they have that more nice, reduced schedule, more money, live comfortably. Anything is possible right now. Whether or not they would take both brothers back, that I'm not really sure about. I would see WWE going more in favor of Jeff Hardy than they would with Matt Hardy. I'm not really I'm not going to really buy too much into that, but, you're just kind of left with the impression that anything could possibly happen at this point. And with the sudden rise of Bobby Roode just really coming out of nowhere, as it really looked as if James Storm was the guy that was going to be taking on Jeff Hardy, you just kind of left with the impression here that, there's more to the story that meets the eye. Who knows? Should be very interesting to see what's going to happen at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. But, overall, very solid episode of Impact Wrestling tonight, as they really had set the tone for the Final Resolution pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. And let's go over that card right now for you guys. I want to go over it from top to bottom just in case you were not able to see or hear what all we're going to be expecting for this Sunday's pay-per-view. Let's take it from the very top. And your matches for this Sunday's pay-per-view are as follows. We got Bully Ray taking on Austin Aries. Kenny King will be taking on RVD for the X Division title. Mickie James will be facing Tara for the Knockouts title. Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Hernandez, Big Super Max, will be taking on Joey Ryan and the Blueprint Matt Morgan for the TNA World Tag Team titles. Aces and Eights, they will be taking on Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff. Oh, yeah, that match is going to be happening. Now, for those of you that are kind of like, huh? How the heck did that come about? Well, pretty much at the end of the match there between, between Doc and Kurt Angle, we did see Kurt Angle apply a ankle lock submission. Looked as if he was about to pick up the win via submission. Aces and Eights, they came in, they jumped him, and it looked as if they were about to do another number on Kurt Angle when we saw Wes Briscoe, Samoa Joe, Garrett Bischoff. They came on down to the rescue, and Kurt Angle pretty much issued the challenge to them that, hey, Aces and Eights, pick any 4 of your guys to take on 4 of us at this Sunday's pay-per-view. So that's how you got that match. Not really too pleased on Samoa Joe. I said it before, I'll say it again, and I don't want to beat it to death, but, if they wanted to put Samoa Joe in this type of a fatal 4-way match, then you know what? It really, the match that he had against Devon earlier in the night, that should have just been a regular singles match, or maybe the match still could have been for the belt, but maybe we could have seen something happen where, we saw what we saw with the little blonde-haired lady coming out, but maybe the referee could have caught Doc get in the ring and attack Samoa Joe to throw the match out. It just really doesn't add up when, you think about it. Devon just becoming champion on TV. Just really silly right there. But, again, if they were trying to figure out what to do with Samoa Joe there, they could have left him with the title, still involved him in this fatal 4-way match. I'm just saying. But regardless, that's the match that we got. So, Aces and Eights taking on Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff. 4-on-4 tag match. Should be pretty solid. AJ Styles versus Daniels. This match is being dubbed as the One Last Time match. And, of course, for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, we got Jeff Hardy taking on the It Factor in professional wrestling, Mr. Bobby Roode. Pretty solid contest right there. All right, we're going to take a very brief commercial break. We come on back. I'm going to share with you some programming notes, let you guys know what all we are going to be up to for this weekend, as we will be covering Final Resolution. So we'll give you some quick programming notes. Show is just getting started. We got to talk in depth about what's been happening with Sting. Looks like his contract with TNA is going to be up for renewal, and we're hearing the rumblings there that the King of Kings, Triple H, guy has been making almost everything he's come in contact with golden as of late. Looks like he's trying to get the Stinger to come on over to the big company in Stamford, Connecticut. I've heard a few people's sides to this, but I want to come from a side that just is going to look at everything and just one big old general outlook. You're going to like what I have to say about this. I'm going to let you guys know honestly if I think Sting would be making a really hell of a smart move signing with WWE. You'll like what I have to say about that. And we'll also get you guys covering the very latest in TNA wrestling-related news. Open up the phone lines, of course. Read some of you all comments from the chat room and up on Twitter. Remember, you can submit those comments to us right now on Twitter at Infinity1Prod, as we are live in progress right now. So we'll take a brief commercial break, come right back, and guys, we'll jump right all into it. So you're listening to Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you right now on December 6, 2012, 15 minutes before the 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Thank you for listening to tonight's episode. If you enjoyed our coverage of the TNA Wrestling, then be sure to check out Impact Showdown Radio every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com and at our sister website at infinityOneProductions.com for all the latest fallout from Impact Wrestling, with the latest in TNA-related news and great live fan reactions. Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders here. Hey, by chance, are you going to miss your favorite episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown Radio as they're live in progress? Hey, that's not a problem. All you got to do is download the free podcast app in the iTunes store, and you'll be able to take all our episodes with you as you're on the move. That's right. Download it. Just search podcast in the iTunes store. It's a free app. Download it. And then from there, just search for our shows by typing in the keywords, the RCWR Show. And then you'll be able to subscribe. It's as easy as that. So check that out, and you'll be able to play all our episodes on your iPad, on your iTouch, iPod, all smartphone, mobile phones, all portable devices. Also, if you haven't checked out the Stitcher app already, highly recommend that you check that out as well, as that's another way you can check out our episodes, especially if you are always on the go. Stitcher, new and smart way to play internet radio.
Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, back with you all. Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinity1productions.com. Matt, shout out if you're checking us out on Stitcher right now. And, hey, if you don't have that Stitcher app for all your portable devices, including your iDevices, you are missing out, my friend. So some quick programming notes for you guys. This Saturday, our weekend edition of the RCWR show is going to be replaced by our match prediction special. I'm going to be rolling up my sleeves once again to be offering match predictions for Sunday's TNA Final Resolution pay-per-view. This is pretty much going to be it. It's the final TNA pay-per-view that I will be offering match predictions for, as we're going to be tallying up how I did over these past several months and try to give you guys an overall rating. And it works so perfectly because if you haven't voted yet on the TNA Wrestler of the Year, you got a couple of weeks left. You got about 2 weeks left in this month, as we're going to be tallying up all you guys' votes, and we're going to reveal on a year-end episode for Impact Showdown Radio. It's going to be a special episode that we're going to do. We're going to do a year-end review from TNA Wrestling, be straight up honest with you guys, let you know what was working, what wasn't working, what needs to happen going forward, and we'll reveal the TNA Wrestler of the Year on that episode. We have a few little surprises that will be in store for that episode. You'll love it. But in the meantime, check out the Call That Match special for Final Resolution. You can catch it this Saturday. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to catch it right here on Blog Talk Radio. And it all leads up to a special episode of the RCWR show, our post show, that is, coming up this Sunday, where we're going to be covering the full fallout from Sunday's pay-per-view. Great live fan reactions. You want to make sure that you check that out. It's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be pretty freaking solid. If you yourself plan on checking out the pay-per-view, then make sure that immediately after you get done checking it out, you call into the show. We want to hear you guys' reactions. Even if you thought the pay-per-view was bad, we want to know why you thought the pay-per-view was bad. We want to make sure we get everybody's sides to how they either liked or disliked the Final Resolution pay-per-view. So make sure you join us this Sunday for the RCWR post show. You'll be able to catch that promptly at 11 p.m. Eastern. All right, so let's dive into some TNA wrestling-related news. We heard the rumblings earlier this week. We've heard the rumblings off and on for the past couple of months now that WWE Vice President of Talent, Live Relations, Live Events, Triple H, he has been wanting to get TNA, the icon Sting, signed to the company. He has been pursuing him aggressively, and it's so funny because we have WWE WrestleMania 29 happening right in the heart of New Jersey, New York next year. And, the buzz that's been happening right now is that if they can get the Stinger to sign, they would be looking to have him be one of the main centerpieces for their Hall of Fame induction class of next year. And, you hear this and you're like, oh, man, this is phenomenal. This would be awesome if they could get a hold of Sting. Not to mention, just think about the marketing campaign that they would be able to do with Sting, knowing the extensive wrestling archives that they have of this guy. I mean, the WCW, you name it. Sting was there. WWE has all that footage, and it's hard, and it's so funny because I remember when Sting did a documentary/wrestling piece for TNA Wrestling. I remember him talking vividly about how there was so many memories that he had, fond memories, and how unfortunately he couldn't put everything he wanted on the DVD because WWE owned the majority of the material. And he was talking about how you wish, that loophole could have been jumped. And here you now have a situation right here where, Sting could hop on over to WWE and he could be one of those key centerpieces in telling new stories for the rise and fall of WCW, or a great DVD documentary that could do the Stinger true justice. But, quite honestly, folks, no matter how you cut it, you're never going to have that perfect Sting DVD because his work that he's done in TNA Wrestling, that unfortunately is going to go unacknowledged, and that's not really fair. But, that's not the main point. The point is, does Sting sign with WWE? Now, let's just think about this for a second. And I hear a lot of people, they say, yes, Sting needs to sign. We need to see him take on The Undertaker. Well, that used to be one of my dream matches that I wanted to see happen. But quite honestly, that's not really something I want to see right now. If Sting were to sign with the WWE, what I would like to see happen with him, I don't want to see him involved in any type of matches. No type of matches. I want to see Sting be used in a position that can really be beneficial to him, his time, as he is first and foremost a family man. We all know this very passionately, as we'll see Sting for about 2-3 months. Boom, he's gone for about 3-4 months. He loves spending time with his family. He likes being able to go see his son's soccer games, all that good stuff. So, first and foremost, you got to respect whatever he's got going on in his personal life, and that's one hump that WWE is going to need to go over. And the other thing that you need to think about is the way that he should really be utilized. And I think the best way to utilize a talent, a wrestling icon of Sting's stature, is to put him in those situations where you're using him for those DVD sales. You're using him for those new releases of action figures, interviews, help promoting the WWE.com website. Maybe he could do an article here or there. You could tap into his mind for that week. Write a weekly little special or something like that. Hell, maybe you can even have Sting sit up and make little special appearances to help promote a storyline or something of that nature. Hell, even if WWE decides they do want to pursue this whole WWE Network thing, he could be one of the key centerpieces around that. But that is the way that he needs to be utilized. Now, I know some people are probably kind of looking at that and they're probably saying, well, doesn't TNA kind of do just a little bit of something like that? Not necessarily, because pretty much when you really think about it, the way TNA Wrestling utilizes Sting right now, they pretty much put him in those wrestling spots. they put him in those backstage segments or whatever little segments where he's talking, little bit of wrestling here and there, but you don't really get to hear too much of what's happening with him behind the scenes, if you will. And I just think that if Sting were to sign with WWE, the answer isn't wrestling. I love the guy to death, one of my favorite guys, but I would not want to see him wrestle in the WWE. Let's be honest. We hear some people say, well, maybe you could give him a Legends type of deal contract. Maybe you could have him work a part-time schedule like a Shawn Michaels type of deal or something that Undertaker used to have right before he just stopped cold turkey. I honestly don't even see that happening for the Undertaker, for Sting. And I was thinking Undertaker because I was just thinking to myself, if only WWE would have been successfully able to sign Sting a couple of years ago, because if there was ever a time two had seen Sting come to the WWE, it would have been to see him wrestle guys like Undertaker when he was still going at it hard 100%, when Shawn Michaels was still around, when Ric Flair was still doing his thing, when Triple H was still very active. You just think about those top marquee matches. Now, I want you guys to think about that for a second. For those of you that are like, we got to see him wrestle. You get after Undertaker, you really don't have anything else. You could maybe do something with Brock Lesnar. You could maybe do something with CM Punk. Maybe you could do something with Chris Jericho if the circumstances are right. Maybe you could do something with Randy Orton. Maybe you could do something with Sheamus. But those are just too many maybes. You know what I'm saying? By the time you have Sting get done doing his rounds, going through all those guys, it's probably going to be at least 2+ years that have gone by. And we hear those same arguments that Sting is having year after year. He really just does not want to wrestle anymore, but he does like the money. He wants to live rather comfortably, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just think wrestling is not the answer, but from a marketing standpoint, that's exactly the way they need to utilize him. I mean, could you guys just imagine picturing a straight-up pure new WWE show, whether it comes on YouTube or it's exclusive to the WWE's website, or maybe something that you could even pay on demand if you still have the WWE subscription for your respective cable provider. Could you just imagine seeing a kick-ass show weekly where you got Sting, Jim Ross, Ric Flair, right, Double A Arn Anderson, Dusty Rhodes, all talking about old school wrestling for like about freaking 30 minutes or an hour? That would be one kick-ass show to watch. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you could set it up in a way where, hell, you could make that be a money drawer if you do it right. I think that needs to be the approach to trying to bring Sting on over. You got to already have everything be set in motion, because the vibe I'm kind of picking up from Sting is, unless you have everything ready to go, everything is boom, 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 unless you're ready to go and you're really serious about it, I don't really see Sting kind of going, yeah, okay, let's sign, and then he's just sitting collecting checks. Not that he's going to complain about it, but it's going to kind of be like, okay, you guys are just... You bought me up just to have me be sitting at home. Not exactly. And remember, that kind of happened the first time around when WWE had purchased WCW, and Sting was one of those guys like Goldberg, a few other people that were kind of just sitting there collecting those checks while WWE tried to figure out what they were going to do with them. You got to have something going this time around. But bottom line, in a nutshell, that's how you utilize Sting. Some of you guys may not like that. Some of you really may be passionate about wanting to see him in matches. But, honestly, I just don't feel that's the route to go. I mean, really think about it, guys. The man is almost 60 years old. I know we got Jerry Lawler and all those other guys that can still totally kick ass. They can still throw it down and everything like that. But with Sting being so passionate every single year about, I really don't want to wrestle anymore, I really don't want to do this,
give him that position where that's an option. He can kick back and he can just do like I'm suggesting, participate in all those marketing campaigns that they're doing, and maybe kind of leave the door open, kind of treat him like The Undertaker. Hey, if you want to wrestle, it's your call. We're not pressuring you. That way, the door is open, and pretty much he can just say spontaneously, hey, I want to do a match. I like this kid. And I would honestly like to believe that if Sting were to sign with WWE, that one of the first people that he would work with, honestly, it's not even The Undertaker, I would personally like to see him work with. I would actually like to, for old times, I'd like to see him try to do a little something with Jericho or CM Punk. I think he would just have a 5-star quality type of deal with them. I'm not really too keen on The Undertaker. I know why some people kind of like that combination better is because of the whole gimmicks, and I get that. But for me, that's not really my dream match if I were to see Sting in the WWE. I want to see him take on Jericho. I want to see him take on CM Punk. For some weird reason, I've always been kind of fixated on seeing him work a match with Triple H. I'm very curious to see how that encounter would play out. But that's it right there as far as the Sting talk. I hope you guys appreciated that in-depth look. But we did promise you we were going to go in-depth there, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. Let's talk about some other TNA wrestling-related news. Now, this one, not as in-depth, but I do want to tackle it. It looks as if TNA Wrestling is going to be removing 2 pay-per-views from its schedule beginning in 2013. That's right, folks. We're going to let you guys know about this. I thought this was a very interesting piece of news right here. Now, we were one of the first wrestling websites to report this as it had came about earlier in the week, and the reason why they're making this move is basically to try to save on a little bit of money and build up more hype going in between pay-per-views. So this move that they're doing right now, it puts TNA's Lockdown pay-per-view, it bumps it up from April to March. This move makes Lockdown now the officially 3rd significant pay-per-view of the year, right behind Slammiversary, Bound for Glory. But keep in mind that with this Lockdown pay-per-view moving from April to March, it kind of puts it almost in line with WWE's WrestleMania. Now, the pay-per-view that is being removed by TNA is the Against All Odds pay-per-view. And, again, all the hype is just going to be about the build leading up to Lockdown after the Genesis pay-per-view in January. Same thing goes for No Surrender. All this is being done to create a distance between Hardcore Justice and October's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Now, it's been said that Dixie Carter, she's looking for ways to improve on quality rather than quantity, and she's been looking to make these cutbacks for a long time now, where the overall goal is to see these moves help create longer distances between the events and hopefully increase the pay-per-view buy rates to cover for the loss of the 2 smaller scale events that they do. Now, I'm still kind of rough around the edges on this one. I commend them for making this move. Now instead of 12 pay-per-views, we get 10. I love that. I think from a consumer standpoint, that's good. You talk to your average wrestling fan nowadays, they don't really want to feel so tied down to pay that $40, $50, $60 for a pay-per-view every single month, knowing they got to turn right back around and they have to pay for another pay-per-view the week after, as WWE one week, TNA the next week. So they're losing anywhere between $80 to $120 right there on top of whatever their respective cable package might be. Now, if you don't have no premium channels, no NFL season ticket, none of that, your average might be, if you're lucky, you might be looking at about maybe $65 to $90 for cable, and that's just pretty much basic channels, really. You're still looking at one high-ass cable bill. So, I commend TNA for sitting up and cutting it down from 12 to 10
consumer standpoint, save a little bit of money. But here's the thing. This is only going to work, guys, if TNA Wrestling plays it smart. They don't bring in any more new talent. I don't want to hear them sit up and go, oh, my God, it looks like Shelton Benjamin is looking for a job. Well, let's sign him. Or, oh, my God, it looks like Brock Lesnar has cut ties with WWE. Let's try to sign him. You know, it's only going to work if they just have a zero tolerance from here on out. Do not sign any more new talent, expensively new talent at that, because it's just going to put them in a rough spot where they're going to always find themselves to be in that position like at what went down earlier this year, where they were just cutting the roster left and right, and you kept hearing TNA wrestlers leaving the company overpay like every single week. You know, we don't need a repeated history of that. Can't stress it enough. Zero tolerance, no more new talent. You have a pretty impressive roster as it is right now, especially with the up-and-coming contestants that had won from the TNA Gut Check series. You know, that right there, combined with what's all happening in TNA right now, you don't need any more people. Work with what you have. And then when you start to build in more revenue, you still don't sit up and go acquire new talent. You keep saving up on that capital so that it just continues to grow and grow. That's the smart move. And it's so funny that this move is happening, because the other move that TNA is trying to do, they're taking a page out of WWE's playbook, and they realize that WWE, they are a dominant force all throughout social media. I mean, you name it, they're there. They got the tout, they got the Twitter, they got the Facebook. To my knowledge, the only thing they don't really have claimed just yet, they haven't really been dominating on Pinterest. A few other things that they haven't really been dominating on, but pretty much social media, they own it. They got the whole app thing down. One thing TNA is noticing is the way WWE has been very successful with social media, and they are looking. It took them a while. It's like, about damn time. Where you guys been already? Y'all should have been on this a couple of years ago, but they just now are sitting up saying to themselves they need to hire a really strong marketing team to really help them branch out and be more successful in all forms of social media. And so look ahead, as 2013, I would expect the jump to really kick off. They're looking to do a hell of a more aggressive social media campaign. You know, one thing I can say, you know, if you're going to do this and you realize that something isn't quite working, you're not pulling in the respected numbers that you thought you were going to be pulling in, TNA Wrestling, this is my message to you. When you see that something isn't working, don't quietly sweep it under the rug and pretend as if nothing even happened. You have myself, who still haven't gotten a comment back, but we're going to keep pushing forward, see if we can get some type of an official statement. And I'm sure many of you have probably been asking respectively as well, what's been happening with the backstage pass? This is now 3 weeks in a row now, where used to be a time where Jeremy Borash was saying it was very revolutionary. You got to see the backstage pass in between commercial breaks. Hey, Impact Wrestling, it's on commercial on your TV, no problem. Open up your laptop, boom, the action continues. Past 3 weeks, we haven't gotten any official statement, nothing. You're just kind of led to the impression that they're done with it, as now all the focus is on their post show. And, you know, that's all fine and dandy, but, again, if it's a case where you see that something's not really working, or maybe you're fine-tuning something, then you need to make those statements be released so that the viewers aren't kind of being left hanging. That's just how I feel. But, you know, TNA, where you guys been? Y'all should have been on this marketing aggressive campaign for social media a long time ago. But, you know, hey, regardless, it looks like they are now trying to get very serious, and, hey, I commend them. You combine that with what they're doing with the 10 pay-per-views a year. So far, they're on the right path to being very successful in 2013. Should be very interesting to see how everything plays out. One last little tidbit of TNA wrestling news for you guys. Angelina Love, she had recently did an interview as she's going to be having a performance for Top Ropes Pro Wrestling promotion. They're going to be doing a New Year's Chaos on Saturday, January 5th at the Virginia Horse Center in Lexington, Virginia. Looks like she had some very interesting words to say, and one of the main things I thought was kind of interesting was the fans that like or don't like women's wrestling. I thought that was pretty interesting in itself. She said, some people hate women's wrestling, some people love it. It's their opinion, but I always go out there and do my best to give people reasons to love it. And, I always say if you don't really like women's wrestling, then, you're kind of sexist in my book, Quite honestly, I think it's cool when you get to see two women that especially know how to freaking wrestle. I think it's always awesome when you get to see people of the opposite sex wrestle, especially if they can wrestle pretty freaking good, No reason to be sexist, not unless you just have to watch guys in their trunks wrestle 24/7, then something... I don't know what to tell you, man, but I would think your lady would even sit up and say you're watching too many men running around in the ring there. But that's just me. It's nice to switch it up from time to time. That's my whole thing. And if you haven't seen the poster yet, guys, there's an official poster that we have put up on our Facebook page. It looks to be official. It looks like the real deal. It's a wicked TNA lockdown poster that's got Hulk Hogan. He's pointing his finger. He's got the gun showing off. Nice little picture of Austin Aries, Jeff Hardy in the background. Looks pretty freaking sweet. Check that out when you guys get a chance. It's on our Facebook page. We got it up right now. And I'm trying to think if that's it. I know I want to send a big congrats to TNA Knockout Rosita. She recently had competed in the World Bodybuilding and Fitness in New England, and she also did something down in Mexico, and she had won a bodybuilding contest. It was her 7th year in a row that she had won that. I'm just amazed that she's been able to win it so many times right there. And other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, news headlines that kind of jumped out there. I think we covered the main meat and potatoes of it all. So, we're going to go on ahead now and open up the phone lines, get you guys' reactions to tonight's episode. Number to call is always 646-478-3525. Once again, 646-478-3525. Listen for the prompts. Get yourself heard live on the air. And let's kick things off. Let's go to our good buddy Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live, my friend.
Hey, Lee. First off, great little piece right there with the whole Sting thing, and then even with the TNA thing. Just going in depth on that about them wanting to cut out pay-per-views. And there was even talk, I think, a year or so ago about them even wanting to cancel their pay-per-views altogether almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whatever happened with that because they weren't making no money at the pay-per-views anyway.
Right.
But I was going to call in and talk about TNA and all that, but there's something that intrigued me with this whole Sting thing, which I think, I know you said you're against Sting and Undertaker,
mm-hmm.
but just I know him coming back part-time, I'm against that too. I would love to just see one match. Just one match and that's it. And Undertaker, he doesn't want to have one of those body-killing matches.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could both have one good match, and just the marketing for that match alone.
Mm-hmm.
That would, in WrestleMania 29, just think if that could happen. just the stages, all the matches set for that pay-per-view.
Mm.
I mean, New York City, I mean, it would be just, I mean, you got Undertaker, the face of the WWE for the past 20 years, and Sting, WCW's icon. And then TNA's been profiting off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember the CM Punk thing last year? Where they're releasing all these DVDs on CM Punk and all that. They could do the same thing that ROH does, too.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have Sting in WWE Main Event, Hall of Fame, and all that. And then you have TNA releasing all these Best of Sting DVDs and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would benefit everybody.
Everybody would win if it operated like that. Yeah, everybody would be pulling in some serious money.
I mean, I'm not saying it would ever happen, or even just the DVD for Sting to go there for like a DVD sales for his Sting DVD. You want to talk about CM Punk's DVD? Sting's DVD would blow that out of the water.
And you know, with Sting, I would think that like for Blu-ray, I don't think I'm exaggerating on this one, but I think for Blu-ray, that for a Sting DVD to really do it justice, I would think that would be like a 3-disc set.
Oh, and just the biography, or what do you want to call it, the sit-down interview with JR, he would just sit there like he'd been doing lately with those DVDs. That would be just epic to see that.
Yeah.
Or even have Mean Gene or somebody from the old WCW Connect sit down with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would just be, and all his great matches starting from NWA all the way to WCW.
Mm-hmm.
They could probably even bust out some of those Ultimate Warrior when they were the, Blade Runners.
Yeah, that was a joint.
They could bust out some of that stuff.
Yeah. I
mean, just so much stuff they could do with this. I don't really see what they could do with Sting, but bringing him in is just like a guy just to show up once every, like Bret Hart does. Because he was never really a part of that.
Right.
You know, he wasn't really, I mean, honestly, realistically, I'm not going to believe it till I see it, because I still can't see Sting on Monday Night Raw. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
Because I remember what he said in his TNA DVD. When Booker T showed up there, they're like, who are you? And Sting's like, man, I do not want to have to rebuild my whole career all over again.
Right.
And Booker T was still young enough where he didn't have to, like, redo his whole career all over again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I respect this thing for not. People, old WCW, the original WCW fans, don't want Sting to go no matter what, because they would still consider it him selling out. Because he never sold out. So those hardcore wrestling, old WCW, NWA fans, they would hate it. But would I love to see Sting and Undertaker one match? If you get one match, wouldn't you want to see that?
If that's what they want to give us, I mean, I must admit, I would be excited for it. But, I mean, when I think about, like, what I want to see off the break, like see him wrestle-wise, unfortunately, that's just not at the top of my list. It's in the top 5, but it's not at the number 1 spot. But you're right. They would make a hell of a killing, just profit-wise, if they were able to make that happen. I don't know, though, man. It seems like every time this conversation of WWE comes around, Sting gets very, very close, and he went on record numerous times and said last year he was that close. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he even went as far as to say those video vignettes, those were for him.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And Lee, one more thing before I get off. You didn't mention this tonight, but what do you make of the 3rd of January thing, those vignettes we were getting of that?
I knew I forgot something because I was kind of like, I missed something. I was looking at that, and it's kind of funny because 1 week or 2 weeks ago, I see them do some little video promo thing, and I'm like, well, what the heck are they plugging? Then it turned out they were plugging Halo. Now you look at this, and, it kind of almost had that same type of vibe to it, like, okay, are they plugging another video game? And I remember I actually did pull up the calendar. I'm like, okay, January 3rd, 2013, what are they plugging here? And so far, what I'm able to gather on that, okay, it is a Thursday, so obviously something big is going to happen on Impact Live.
And the other thing I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the first Impact of the year 2013. Okay, so something monumental is going to happen on this episode. You know, I have to see a little bit more, but, you know, I'm just thinking about it right now. You know, I can't help but kind of wonder, could TNA Wrestling be possibly setting us up for the return of Abyss? Or is it some type of a force that is going to be so dark, maybe so evil, that it could possibly have the aces and eights try to make amends with the Hulkster and the TNA roster to, like, join sides, you know, join forces to take on whatever this evil force is that's getting ready to come? I mean, the honest vibe I was picking up from that video, it looked like something evil was coming. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that. But all we know right now, January 3rd, 2013, something big is going to be happening on that episode. So make sure you mark it down on your calendars, and hopefully, you know, it's not going to be a case like a couple of years ago. They're here, they're coming, and, you know, you're just giving a whole big old letdown. I would just be bummed out at that. Let's go to our next caller now. Let's go to our good buddy, Homie, from the Texas area. Homie, you're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, good evening, Lee.
Hey, evening.
Just quick little things real quick. TNA Lockdown is going to be in my backyard, and I'm kind of stoked about that. I've never been to a TNA live event before, and I'm kind of curious to see what goes down there. Have you ever been to one?
No. I came very close to going to an event in Maryland. They had something up here a couple of months ago. I believe they might have been in Baltimore. Don't quote me on that, but I came very close to going to that one, but I had an emergency at the last minute. So it's like, next time they're close by. But from what I hear, you know, you're in for a treat, you know, especially if you're going to see a pay-per-view. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I hear the live shows are pretty good too, but the pay-per-views is definitely where you want to be.
Oh, definitely, especially a lockdown pay-per-view gimmick match with everyone's in a cage. It should be pretty good.
Yeah.
With the Sting, I think he's so loyal to Dixie Carter for what all she's done for him. If anything, he gets anything involved with WWE, I think it's like 10 years down the line when he's not in wrestling anymore. Maybe he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Man, I just think he's just too. I don't know. I don't see it. You know, he had his opportunity, I think, a year or two ago to join WWE and declined it. I don't see any reason why he would go back to WWE. There's nothing really in for him. Unless, the WWE gives him a good amount of money with the DVD sales and stuff like that. But, what would he get out of it other than maybe wrestling one match? I just don't see anything for him to go there. And Impact. I enjoyed Impact, but, man, that Todd guy, he needs to go. I don't know why they came into the booth, and he talks about 90% of the time. I mean, I'm not a Taz fan at all, but I'd rather listen to him talk. And Tanae, he doesn't even get to talk anymore. It's like it's just Todd. He just talks and talks and talks, and then he asks Tanae, what did you think about that move, Tanae, or what's going on? It's just like he doesn't let them talk about the match at all. It's just, I don't know why they brought him into the booth. I don't understand it.
I'll tell you this, with regards to that guy, I've been peeping him out for a couple of weeks now. There is something about him. I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't want to make it seem as if I was just picking on an individual. But there's something about him that just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and he doesn't come off like a humble color commentator. Remember how it was when Michael Cole had first started joining JR, Jerry Lawler? He was kind of, minding his piece. He realized that they're the veterans, play by their lead, look for his moments to kind of jump in there. And he's really just been so dominant since he has popped up, and it just kind of makes me, I'm sure it makes you and
probably a few other people uncomfortable, but it has an eerie uncomfortableness to it because you just kind of feel like, okay, is this guy going to be like the new guy? Is TNA or Taz getting ready to roll out? What's going on right here? And I have to agree 100%. I think about all the guys that just are doing their thing with color commentating, and I would even have to go as far as to say Josh Matthews is better than this guy. And I know some of you will probably be like, ooh, that was a low blow. But I'm speaking the truth. I think Josh Matthews does a better job than this Todd guy. And I don't know. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because there is some things that I like hearing him say, but I will admit there was a few spots on tonight's broadcast where he did really come off pretty dominant, and he would go to Mike Tenay or Taz for a comment, and it just sounded kind of silly. The questions he would be asking as Tenay, Taz, they're being quiet. They're like, they're kind of coming off like, what the hell you think, kid? So I don't know what's happening with that. Honestly, I'd settle for Jeremy Borash, or if you really want to pick my brain, I miss frickin' Don West. I love that guy. That guy could sell anything. I miss Don West. They need to bring him back. That was the man, hands down. I love hearing that combination between him and Mike Tenay. Really sad that he got bumped to the side for Taz. Hell, if they wanted to go on ahead and make it be a three-man panel, I don't see why they just couldn't bring old Don West back and, hey, there you go. Still the same old thing. But good question right there. I like that comment. And I think that's going to do it. I think we had a pretty solid show tonight. The three-man thing, it has potential, but they really need to let Taz, Mike Tenay, even though Taz doesn't really say too much, just let it be all about those guys. Let them do their thing. And Todd just continues to learn. I think it's too soon, but, I don't want to go any more further into it. I'm going to leave it right there. We had some great interactions from you guys tonight. Love it when we do it like this. I do want to take this time out, send a heartfelt thank you to everybody that's checked out tonight's show. And remember, we're going to be covering Final Resolution. We're going to be having our coverage. It all begins this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll be offering match prediction specials. Be sure to check that out. It's going to be pretty solid. All leads up to the RCWR post show at 11 p.m. Eastern. We'll be covering the whole fallout with you all's reactions, 11 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check that out. Hey, we might be going off the air for a hot minute, but the talk of wrestling never stops. Go check out InfinityOneProductions.com for all the latest in wrestling-related news and so much more. And, hey, subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces so you never miss out on an episode. Take us with you on the go. Download us anytime, anywhere. Hit that follow button on Blog Talk Radio so you'll always get the alerts when we're getting ready to put up another episode. And that's going to do it. Till we hear from you guys this Saturday. Black Avenger, as always, Lee Sanders, wishing you all to be safe and kind to one another. We'll see you this Saturday. Hey, show off.